back, you're watching Overdrive. Maruti Suzuki has upped its game in the premium MPV space with the Invicto. Now, this is a full-sized MPV, can accommodate up to 7 to 8 passengers. It's the first offering from Maruti Suzuki that only comes with a hybrid variant and an automatic gearbox. Here's Bert telling you all about it.
The largest MPV manufacturer in the country, without a doubt, is Maruti Suzuki. And the highest selling MPV? Well, it's the Ertiga. It sells in its thousands. But today, Maruti has set its sights several leagues higher with this, the new Invicto. Now, if the Invicto feels familiar, well, it should, because this is exactly the Toyota Innova Hycross. Now, under the alliance that's shared between Suzuki and Toyota, there are going to be several products that are rebadged and shared between the two companies and sold individually through their outlets, and the Invicto is one of them. This is exactly the Toyota Innova Hycross, rebadged as the Invicto, with, of course, all Maruti Suzuki's adornments on it. Visually, the Invicto has got three areas of change. At the front end, the grille has changed. We've got now the signature Suzuki logo, the badge right there sitting up front and center, along with this chrome strip running across the grille. And of course, there's a little bit of resculpting on the bumpers. Unlike the Innova Hycross, the Maruti Suzuki Invicto sits on 17-inch wheels and tires. These are 215/60 profile. The third biggest change is right here, the tail end. A little bit of sculpting on the tailgate, which is now, of course, powered and makes it the only powered tailgate in this segment. And then, of course, you've got these restructured tail lamps. Of course, lots of LED graphic elements in there, but it is a nice looking rear end, fairly attractive. The entire package, for that matter, very handsome, very attractive. The middle row, well, it's very spacious. As you can see, there's a lot of knee room that we've got here. However, you cannot slide your feet forward simply because, well, as you can see, it's been packed up, because that is where the battery for the hybrid system resides. It's right under the driver and the passenger, co-passenger seat. So you cannot slide your feet forward. Nonetheless, you can adjust, well, the middle row to open up and free up some more space so you can stretch out fairly comfortably. Now, the seat squab, well, there isn't a lot of under thigh support, and this could make, well, sitting in the Invicto over long journeys a little tiring. Nonetheless, a fair amount of adjustments could still ensure a fair amount of comfort as well. This is a very well spec'd cabin. You've got climate control right here. You can adjust the blower speeds and the temperature. You've got lighting systems right here on the roof. You've got the air vents right above you. You've got this fantastic panoramic sunroof, and then, of course, you've got these sun blinds as well. The variant that we're sitting in is the Alpha Plus variant. This Alpha Plus variant offers you a 7-seat option, a 7-seat configuration, 2 passengers in the front, 2 in the middle, and 3 in the third row. However, 3 in that third row will be a little uncomfortable. Ideally, that's for 2. Now, the 8-seater variant, well, it's got a bench in the middle with a 60-40 split, so you can walk in to that third row. The third row as well has got a 50-50 seat split, so if you want to increase boot space, you want to add in something larger, those seats fold down as well. Here's something unique to the middle row. Most MPVs or 3-row SUVs, for that matter, have a seat adjustment right ahead of the seat. In the Invicto, well, this is right next to the seat, and that's essentially how you adjust the seat for distance. So, what is ingress and egress like into the third row? As you can see, very simple. There is a fairly large amount of space for the third row passengers. If I had to take the seat behind, well, as you can see, a fair amount of knee room, lots of headroom, but width, well, this space is ideal for 2 passengers, best to avoid a third. Now, here's one unique aspect in this third row. If there was a third passenger, well, their seat belt tethers right here at the top. It's a very unique bit. It's mounted on the ceiling, and you've got these 2 fixtures in here. One of them is for buckling up. The other fastening point is essentially to hook the seat belt back up into the ceiling. Now, this is a first for Maruti, the power tailgate in the MPV segment. And as you can see, With all three rows upright, there still is a fair amount of space. If I had to fold the seats down, that gives me a significant amount of space to put in a lot more luggage in that boot.
After this very short break, let's find out what this petrol hybrid powertrain feels like on Indian roads. Welcome back. Here watching Overdrive. Maruti Suzuki's Invicto is being offered only with a strong hybrid powertrain and an eCVT. No other Maruti Suzuki has offered us just one powertrain and just one gearbox in the past. Let's find out more about it.
When you switch on the Invicto, well, it directly goes into the electric mode, so you won't hear the engine coming to life, neither will you feel those vibrations. What I do like over here is this angular console which houses, well, the infotainment display, the aircon vents, the climate control system, the gear selector, and of course all those drive functions as well. All of this is stacked up in an angle in a single unit resting against the dashboard. Fantastic looking element, feels very premium, feels very futuristic as well. You've got a fantastic 10.3, it's a large display area. The climate control system, I do like the fact that you get, well, seat ventilation, and those controls are right here. And then of course you've got a whole host of buttons. That's the camera, gives you a complete 360 view. You've got a hold function, you can select the drive modes, you can get purely into the EV mode, and of course there's the traction control button that allows you to switch on and off the traction control. The Invicto will come with just the one hybrid powertrain. There are no petrol options at all in this MPV. Now the benefits for the hybrid powertrain, of course, the intent rather, is more to do with maximizing fuel efficiency. Maruti claims about 23, almost 23.5 kilometers per litre. But there are other benefits as well. One, of course, is the performance enhancement that the combined power output of the electric and petrol motor puts out. And then, of course, are the lower tailpipe emissions as well. So what are the numbers in the powertrain? Well, this has got a 2-litre petrol engine, and that has been clubbed to an electric motor, actually two electric motors. One, though, does the work of propulsion. The second is to charge the battery. Now, the petrol motor, well, that makes about 150 PS of peak power, whereas the electric motor, you've got about 130 PS of peak power. Max torque to the petrol motor alone is about 180 Newton meters of torque. The electric motor close to about 203-205 Newton meters of peak torque. Combined, however, you get peak power of about 180 PS, and torque, what Maruti says, is always in the range of about 180 Newton meters of torque at all times. It's a fairly efficient powertrain, and this is clubbed with an eCVT transmission. Now that transmission is a little noisy. You can hear the entire powertrain at work, except when of course the electric motor switches on. At that point, it's a fairly silent performer, but that doesn't exist for too long. The battery pack in the Invicto, like I mentioned, sits right under the driver and the passenger seats. This is a slightly larger battery pack than conventional hybrids. It's got a 1.3 kilowatt hour battery pack, and that will give you a short driving range, but good enough to reduce emissions, to enhance efficiency, and of course to help boost performance as well. There are 3 driving modes in the Invicto. There's the Eco mode, the normal mode, and the power mode, and you can select those by pressing a button on the center console. In Eco mode, predominantly electric motor is put to work. I'm doing about 60 kilometers an hour just now, but and feels effortless, feels smooth and noise free. But if I had to step on the throttle, acceleration is brisk, is rapid. I've just crossed 100 kilometers an hour effortlessly. However, you can hear the eCVT at work. It is a bit noisy and of course continuous. Now keep in mind, the Invicto is a fairly large MPV. From end to end, it's about 4.8 meters long, stands about 1.8 meters tall, and just as wide. It's also got a ground clearance of about 180-185 mm. And now it sits on, well, the smaller 17-inch alloys and wheels. Like I mentioned earlier, 215/60 profile tires, which means you've got a slightly smaller contact patch, but it gives you better ride quality. Right now I'm on a smooth patch, but over some of the rougher sections that I drove across, the suspension has been tweaked to give it a fair amount of firmness, but nothing that feels too harsh. This is also done to control body roll. And while the Invicto tries very hard to do that, you can sense a fair amount of body roll in this. So this isn't a vehicle you'd go looking for corners in. One thing that's quite unique to the Invicto, and this is something that we really haven't seen in a Maruti before, is the long list of comfort and convenience features. This MPV is packed to the gills. You're even seeing, well, ventilated seats, you've got connected technologies, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Some of these are of course available in their other range of cars as well. But the Invicto takes this to a whole new level. The one thing that's absent though, well, wireless charging. The Invicto was recently launched and the prices are fairly attractive. You've got three variants. You've got the Zeta Plus 7-seater option or the Zeta Plus 8-seater option and the Alpha Plus 7-seater option. And the prices for these range from 24.79 or 24.8 lakhs going up to 24.84 lakhs for the 8-seater, whereas the Alpha Plus goes up to 28 lakhs, almost 29 lakhs ex-showroom. Not too bad pricing at all. This is one of the most expensive Marutis ever to be offered to consumers in India, but I do believe there's a fair amount of value to be had. Overall, on paper, the Maruti Suzuki Invicto looks like a win-win package. 6,000 bookings for it already. Well, that clearly indicates that Maruti is on the right track here.
As of this week, the Invicto has received over 7,000 bookings and the waiting period has extended by 2 months. But this is not the only vehicle in headlines this week. Hyundai has launched the Exter micro SUV starting at an introductory price of 6 lakh rupees and it goes up to 10 lakh rupees for the AMT variant. There are plenty of segment first features and safety tech and also a CNG option that has got everyone talking. We'll be driving it pretty soon as well. On that note, it's time for us to wrap up this week's edition of Overdrive. But do follow us on social media and we'll catch you next week. Until then, ride and drive safe.